everybody. Welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is JD. Who's here with me?
It's Michelle.
It's always Michelle.
It's always me. Hello.
It's sober Michelle, not drunky poo Michelle. I understand this is now 2 sober Michelle episodes in a row, but I like to celebrate sober Michelle.
Such a
I like to
disappointment.
encourage her sobriety. Michelle clearly has a problem.
Oh yeah, that's me.
Yeah, she gets tuned up like a just total mess of a person about. I wouldn't even say twice a year. I would say about every 9 months. So like twice every 3 years.
Yeah, that's my problem. My problem is not that I drink too much. My problem is I drink too little. And then when I do drink, I don't understand that I should not just keep drinking. Because the problem is I am a very hydrated bitch. I love water. I drink so much water. So if you put white wine in front of me, I will just keep downing it because the glass is there and it has liquid in it. And my brain doesn't process, I should stop drinking this because it's not the same as water. My brain says, you're thirsty. Drink up, ho. And
you know what the secret
then I
to
keep
that
doing
is,
it.
Michelle?
Have water as well, but why would I do that?
Yeah, for 2 reasons. Because A, it keeps you hydrated, and B, it keeps you fuller so you don't drink as stupidly much.
At the dinner in Vegas where I got crazy drunk, I had
sure you're not
drinks
drunk
in
now,
front of
Michelle?
me. I had 3 drinks in front of me and I accepted it as a challenge and they kept refilling them. And one of them was a very fancy whiskey or bourbon. It was on the rocks. What's an old fashioned made of? That's what I was drinking.
Is whiskey. So to say it was either bourbon or whiskey is a challenging comparison.
I don't know if it was bourbon or just whiskey. Is that better?
So, welcome to another episode of We Talk Liquor. That's the new show we're doing. Fuck horror movies. We're just gonna talk about Boozahol from now on. I'm not sure what's in an old fashioned. By the way, I did hear your question. I know it might be bourbon. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't drink anymore because on account of having a shitty fat liver. Anyway, guys, welcome to another episode. If it's your first time with us, hi, thanks for tuning in. I assume you know the gist. Most of the time we watch movies on Shudder that are new. Sometimes we watch other things because they don't always have new stuff. This week, they got new stuff. And we actually watched... this is what I love about this, Michelle, is we had to dig around all over the internet to find a streaming option for... I ended up with... it was some kind of... I don't know if it was Russian. It may have been like Czechoslovakian. But it was some kind of Eastern European variation of YouTube that I'm sure is patently illegal in a number of ways. Yeah. And then the day this one drops, they put the original right up there next to it, and it's freely available for everybody.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was also a little bit bitter about it.
And I'm sure a much better quality version than we got to watch it in. Oh, well, that's how the cookie crumbles.
This is why you don't illegally stream stuff. But the problem was we didn't have an option. It was never distributed.
And we were just like, look, if we're going to do this sequel that was done 30 years later, we should probably be up to speed on the original. And we happened to have an open week. We did it. Michelle, people who are paying attention know what we're talking about because they're awesome. But for people who might be just stopping in, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're talking about the sequel to the 1994 and 1997 movies called Nightwatch. The sequel is Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever, and it is a sequel that came out 30 years later. And you know what? I'm going to be sober for the sequel episode. I was not for the original film. So if you want to go check that out, you will learn all sorts of embarrassing information.
Nightwatch.
Yeah. There's a lot of
AKA Michelle's real drunk. Drunk.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember. I don't remember clearly the specific details. But if you are gonna go back and listen to it, I believe there were some frank discussions about self-harm and some other things. Be prepared. But not
I did
talking
give a
about
content
anything, but
warning at the beginning.
it was it was real something. And thankfully she's in a much more sober state today. And yeah, we're talking about Nightwatch. Demons Are Forever. Michelle, do you remember from last week, even though you were super drunk, what your thoughts were about that movie, the original, just in quick summary?
Yeah, I enjoyed both of them because I did watch both of them because I'm thorough as fuck. And I liked both of them. According to the We Watch
When
Shudder spreadsheet,
when
what?
when she says both of them, let me be clear. She's talking about the 1994 original and the 1997 remake, not this
Yes.
2024
Sorry.
sequel. Because I
Good
didn't
clarification.
even know there was a 1997 American remake starring young
Ewan
Obi-Wan
McGregor.
Kenobi. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know that was even a thing.
Yep,
But until we did the
I
episode.
did.
But she watches everything. So I'm sorry.
I do.
I always
No, it's
take
all
every
good.
opportunity I can to make sure people understand that you are a living encyclopedia of horror content.
The problem is I don't remember the content. It's in there. I just can't retrieve it. But yeah, according to the spreadsheet with my ratings, I gave them both a 4. And you know what? That sounds correct. I didn't remember what I rated them, but 4 out of 5, that sounds legit. And it's I think my logic was it was better than Leprechaun Returns. So I gave them both 4 because Leprechaun Returns got 3.5. And sure, yep,
That
that's good logic.
Yeah, that sounds like good drunk Michelle logic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did look back. I give it a 3.5. I believe. Really, my position was that I think it's a well-made movie. I thought it was an interesting story, but there were also some things that happened in it. I would imagine just because of the time in which it was made. Some stuff that was really uncomfortable involving a prostitute character. This really weird, awkward side plot about a bet between two dudes. But I overall enjoyed it. We're here to talk about the 30 Years On sequel. Like 4 of the original actors are back. Nikolai, what's his name from Game of Thrones? He's back as Martin, and the guy who played the detective is back, and the guy who played the doctor is back, and the guy who played Jens, he's back. All of them dudes. Also, the director's daughter now, playing Martin's daughter. Nightwatch,
Yep.
Demons Are Forever. That's the end. Let's go home.
Well, I have a feeling I know how you're gonna feel about this movie.
Do
With
you
a
really?
brilliant intro like that. Well,
Oh, okay.
should I read
So
the IMDb summary so that we
I
can
I
get
thought
into
we
our
were gonna
thoughts
do
on
the
it?
Shudder one.
Oh my god. Sure.
We were gonna do the one that you wanted to do originally.
I thought we were doing the one you wanted to do originally. I had
No.
accepted defeat.
Well, no,
Okay.
and then you had conceded early, and then I ultimately decided you were right.
Oh, okay. See, I only noticed that I lost and I was too busy just like accepting that
You
to
gotta
notice
you
that I
gotta
won
keep your
again.
eye out for the come up, Michelle. You gotta keep your eye out for the come up.
No, I try not to keep my eyes out for cum because that's how you wind up blind.
Oh, Jesus. Could we talk about the movie, please?
You never taken cum shots of that. Anyway, okay,
Uh,
so here's the description according to the Shudder
maybe
website.
once. Anyway,
On accident or on purpose? Anyway,
we don't
Emma
need to
takes
talk
a
about
night
it.
job. Emma takes a night job facing the psychopathic killer who targeted her family 30 years earlier, triggering a vengeful spree. Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever, hour and 53 minutes, Danish, 2023, DVMA, sequel, Nightwatch 2. JD,
Yeah, that's.
would you like to give us your spoiler-free thoughts?
Yeah, I would love to give you my spoiler-free thoughts because you're absolutely wrong. I think this movie is better than the original in every conceivable way.
Whoa.
I enjoyed it more. There are things that the original does that this one doesn't do. It's very clear that the creator behind this is very aware that some of the things that he was that he did that he would still be able to do in his movie today. it was wiser to just pull some of those elements back, sort of narrow this down a little bit. I think it's a more cohesive story. I think it's a more coherent story. I think it's an equally well-produced film. I want to say that much. Like, I do think the original was a very well-made film, and this, again, is a super, super well-made kind of extra bloody Silence of the Lambs type crime thriller with some giallo slasher sort of elements woven in. No, I thought it was really good. In typical me fashion, it probably could have been 15-20 minutes shorter. It does push the 2-hour mark. But no, I was able to enjoy this one more than I was able to enjoy the original because the story isn't so edgelord in a lot of ways, if you know what I mean.
Edgelord. Okay.
Yeah, you know the things I'm talking about. We'll talk about them in detail in the spoiler section. I just don't want to spoil them here for people who haven't seen it, the original,
Yeah. I do like Edgelord, though. That's a pretty good one.
Edgelord. Okay. We need to get that T-shirt made. Edgelord.
That needs to be a bumper sticker, if anything, because honk if you're an edgelord. Edgelord. See, I'm just full of good merch ideas.
Does anybody put bumper stickers on cars anymore, Michelle?
I do. I had one from the Kamikaze Snowman about the murder ball and how I wanted it to be elected for president on my last car.
I feel like the way business is done in America these days, you'd probably knock $7,000 off the resale value of a vehicle just putting a bumper sticker on it.
Yeah, that's fine. It was worth it because I was pledging my allegiance to Murderball.
Okay, well, I mean, that's fair. Anyway, Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever.
You want to murder.
You want to give us your spoiler-free thoughts, Michelle?
Yeah. What did you say your numerical score was?
4.5 on this one.
4.5. Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was a full point better. Like I said, it was every bit as good a crime thriller story, but I thought it was more cohesive, more coherent, and yeah, just a better story.
Okay. Oddly enough, I disagree with you.
Wow.
But I also don't feel strongly enough about it that I think we're even going to get into a debate. Okay. I just enjoyed the original and the original second original movie more. I think part of it is a proximity problem where I had just seen both of those for the first time last week and enjoyed both of them. And this did not feel like it. There's some stuff that happens in the first one that this didn't feel like it picked up, and it took me a little bit to get over that hurdle. There are some things that are really well done. I really enjoy the main actress who is the director / writer's daughter. I think that's pretty cool. Some stuff I like, but overall, if I have to compare it to the first 1/2, I like that one more. So you know what? I will go with my Leprechaun Returns judgment scale now. Is it better or worse than Leprechaun Returns? We'll say it's right there on par with Leprechaun Returns and give it a 3.5 out of 5 for me.
3.5 out of 5. So you went back a half a skull, and I went up a full skull. This will at least be an interesting sort of talk about perspectives, because it seems like maybe the things that it was missing that I thought made it better might be the very same things that it was missing that you think made it worse.
Possible. I mean,
we're
for
gonna
one,
find
this one
out.
doesn't have Ewan McGregor, and that's very upsetting.
Well,
but I am looking forward to the American remake that we're gonna get in 3 years of this one, because he's got to do an American remake, right? He's gotta, because the 1994 was the Danish one. Then he did the 1997 American one, which was him writing and directing and just going, "No, I need an American one."
No,
we
Steven
have to
Soderbergh
get a
directed the American remake, or wrote the American remake, rather.
Yes, but it was still directed by Ole Bornedal.
So we'll get Soderbergh to write the sequel. He'll probably be down for it again, but
I will just take anything where I get more Ewan McGregor.
I still haven't seen the remake from 1997. Anyway, 3.5 skulls from Michelle, 4.5 skulls from me. That's a 4 skull average. Which is a full quarter skull more than the average for the original, so that settles it. It's a better movie.
Wow.
If you want to see the film before we dig into it, and if you haven't seen the original, I do recommend you watch them both, especially now that the original is available on Shudder in a really beautiful scan and in nice quality.
I also
But
don't think it would be possible to watch this without seeing the original. This seems like a sequel where you
you
have to
think
see the
so?
original.
I don't.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I actually
Ooh,
had
okay.
exactly the opposite thought. I felt like this was one that you could see having not seen the original, and you would do just fine. That's, oh man.
Okay.
I guess
I
we got stuff to
gotta make
talk about.
a note to talk about that. Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about some stuff in the spoilers section. If you do not want spoilers before you get a chance to see it, make sure you come back and listen to the rest of us when you're done, but hit that pause button right about now. So, Michelle, you know what happens first here. Let's go ahead and hit them with that plot summary that you always do so well and awesomely.
Yeah. At least I'm sober this time. And yet I feel like I remember less about this one than I did of the first two night watches. Maybe because I watched it 2.5 times, once individually for each movie, and then once kind of side by side to compare. Anyway, so Night Watch. There's a lady named Emma, and she is going to medical school for something. Is it dead people? Is it alive people? I don't remember. A doctor of some sort. That's what Emma will be. And she's dating a guy, and then she's got some friends. That must be nice. I wonder what friends are like. And then she decides that she's going to work at a mortuary just like her dad did because her dad had a great
It's a
time
forensics lab.
Okay, whatever, where dead people be. Okay. Anything can be a mortuary if there's a dead person there. I don't make the rules. Somebody have a heart attack at Walmart. That Walmart is now a mortuary while that corpse is in there.
Sorry
So,
to talk all
I'm
over
just
you, Michelle.
No, that's fair. Okay, so a forensic lab that happens to also be a mortuary. That's where she's gonna work because Emma knows her dad had a really great time when he had that job when he was younger because he almost got fucking murdered along with his girlfriend who became his wife, who became Emma's mom, who became dead because she killed herself because of the events that happened at the forensic science unit mortuary funeral home place. So that seems like a really good idea, Emma. And now, oh my God, there's people in there getting murdered. And Emma's like, whoa, that's crazy. That already happened once, and now it's happening again. And she decides that she's gonna go talk to the guy who almost killed her dad in order to record him and show her dad that he's not a scary man after all. And so she does that, and then she spits on the man, and then he's like touches her or something, however that works. I have in my mind, I can't remember exactly what happened. Doesn't matter. She gets freaked out. She starts yelling. People come running and they're like, hey, you can't spit on old guys. And she's like, yeah, but like, what if he really deserved it? And they're like, well, you might have a point. And then long story short, that lady who she talked to when she went to see the guy who tried to kill her dad, his name is Vermer. Would you love him if he was a Vermer? Well, hard to tell because he's not looking so great these days. Which would be a great pun because he also cannot see very well. So he's not looking so great. Get it? Okay. That's a good one. That's a really good pun. Good job, me. And so then turns out that psychiatrist who works there, she's very mad about Emma spitting on her father because that dude, the Vermer, he's her dad. And now she's like, hey, Jaime Lannister, I'm gonna put you in there with him and you can't move, and that kind of sucks for you. And then Jaime Lannister is like, I don't like this, but like without his lips moving because he can't move anything. And then long story short, the psychiatrist, she gets caught by Emma, and Emma's like, you're after my dad. I don't like that. And she's like, well, you spit on my dad. And they're like, oh, why can't we just let bygones be bygones? The end. That's not actually how it ends, but I do like the idea of this becoming like one really big friendship story. And I am going to reject your reality and substitute my own. So
Okay,
they
fair
just
enough.
bonded over their father issues.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
not really how it happened, but that's cool.
No, absolutely not. It's definitely not.
No, so I guess first of all, Michelle, why don't we start here? You said that you think you definitely would want to see the original before you saw this one. You don't think this one could stand on its own. Talk about that for a little while.
So Yes, I'm actually glad that this came up because I forgot to make a note that this was something that I wanted to talk about. And then, hey, we're talking about it anyway. That's crazy random happenstance. So here's the thing. I would have preferred if this was a standalone. I feel like it did rely on the original. I'm just going to use it in the singular form, even though I know there's two. There's a lot of similarities between both of them. Fuck it. The original, even if you watched the Danish one versus the American one, you get the same story. But I felt like there was a lot of like this happened in the past, and like bringing back the new characters was like oh, that's a fun thing for people who know who they are. A lot of references to the original movie that I think would get missed. Technically, it could be a standalone thing, but I think I needed it to be less reliant on the original plot line then, because so much of this it's appreciated because of the parallels that it draws between the original. And if you haven't seen the original, I think that you're going to miss something. Now, that said, though, uh, I just watched both originals for the first time, and they both end on kind of a somewhat happy note. On one of them, I don't remember if it's the Danish or American one, but one of them, they wind up having a double wedding and they get married and they're like making jokes and stuff. And then in the other one, they had this whole challenge thing where they're like, oh, I'm going to challenge you to do this and you have to do it. And that's like the game that they're playing throughout. And I think he challenges him to be like his friend forever or something like that as they're like outside in the ambulance after these traumatic events happen. So it's such a like lighthearted, jovial ending. And then when we begin this as like oh, just kidding, that really fucked that guy up, and it fucked up his wife so much that she killed herself, like that just didn't match, and it took me a little bit to get over that, because I was like, I remember that feeling like such a weird way to end the original that it really stuck with me. And then when you went, just kidding, ignore that happened, that was really hard for me to get on board for a good part of this movie then, of like, what do you mean? I mean, like, I guess I'm a traumatic and jokey person, so I get it, but at the same time, like, from a movie telling perspective, it was a very strange thing that took me out a little bit.
Sure, and I get a certain amount of that, and I don't entirely disagree. I think there is a lot of stuff in this movie that you won't connect the dots if you haven't seen the first one because you don't have the frame of reference. I think what I was meaning was, and because that's just kind of the way I look at a lot of things, was just strictly from a plot perspective. I think as a standalone, I think they give you enough to understand that something terrible happened to this girl's parents when they were young. Her mother ended up killing herself over it, and now she's ended up getting brought back into it. I think they give you enough so that if you haven't seen the first film, you'll still understand. You'll understand the at least the surface and the basics of this story on its own. But I do agree that there are a lot of extra layers that you will get from it. If you have seen the original, I do have to wonder though if the thing you mentioned about how it was so difficult for you to get used to the shift in tone. I to me that says like if you had never seen those original films, you wouldn't have that problem, right? So I wonder if in certain ways it might be better to see. I mean, it's hard to say. And that's kind of all I meant was just like it's not gonna be a complete confusing mess if you haven't seen the original.
Yeah, and I think I have very few occasions where I will say you can watch this movie without seeing the original. And when I do, I'm like, yeah, no, absolutely. It's 100% on its own. You don't have to see it. But like I think I have a hard time when I'm like, oh yeah, it's a sequel and it definitely feeds off the original. I would feel like I was missing out
Yeah, well,
on
yeah, and
like the stuff
I
that
have
is
that.
such a big selling point. Yep.
I do personally have that same experience, where like it was insanely long that I was playing Super Mario Brothers in the 80s and early 90s before I learned about any of these secrets and like level warps and all these hidden things. And I was furious. I was like, I was not in on the joke or something. And then, like, so I have that same experience, right? Like, once I understand there's more going on here, I want to know it all. So yeah, I can definitely see that. But yeah, I think you could watch it. I think you could see this one without seeing the original, and you'd be okay.
Technically, yes.
Perfect. So,
but couldn't you with most movies?
I guess, yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, you could certainly pick up any film in the Friday the 13th franchise, and you'll be just fine.
You'd have
probably,
a hard time with Kill Bill Volume 2, though.
Did you hear they just announced a Kill Bill Volume 3?
Oh, shit. Really?
Apparently
no,
the first trailer just dropped recently, unless what I saw was some sort of weird parody thing that was going around social media. But I definitely saw something about Kill Bill Volume 3 and the first trailer being released.
Starring Uma Thurman and Zendaya.
Zendaya?
Okay, no, you're right. Zendaya.
It's Zendaya. Like day and night. Ask Tom Holland. Go watch literally any video clip of Tom Holland saying her name.
This is a fake trailer.
Oh, is it fake?
I got so excited.
Okay.
So excited. Well, there's
yeah,
no
like
IMDb
I said,
page.
I didn't dig into it right away, so I did want to make sure to say it might be phony, and I'm glad to learn that it is in fact
these
phony.
Motherfuckers! I got so excited.
Oh, anyway,
what's even the point anymore?
So I'm curious because I want to do it. I want to be the one that gets to reveal whether we agree or not. There are things I said that this movie doesn't do that I'm glad it doesn't do, that I feel like it's a more evolved story. It's understanding that times have changed and there are certain things that it's not necessary to do that I thought brought the story up. But you said there were things missing from this one that didn't connect, like there were like loose ends from the first one, if I'm understanding correctly, that you felt were left that didn't get sewn up. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I don't think it was necessarily things that were left as loose ends in comparison to the first one. I feel like the first one, if I'm comparing both of them, it was more straightforward, and I think the ending gets a little convoluted with this. It's not so much like, oh, I know the parts that you did not like from the original, and it's not like those parts were in there or they weren't in there, or like, oh, I wish they had that challenge thing that they had as like a storyline throughout. It's more so that it was pretty straightforward. You had some questions about what's going on, but this one does a lot of like back and forth of like which two of these is the killer, that I didn't enjoy as much. I kind of like just the mystery and then one reveal at the end of the first one.
Oh, that's interesting because yeah, I thought this. I liked the way this played on the like the red herrings, so to speak. Just before I dig into that, actually, a little, I do want to say, like I mean, for those who maybe haven't seen it and for some reason are still listening in, like, so this guy is known, basically they talk about how he was known for scalping his victims, right? Which is definitely an element of the crimes in the original. But the part that they leave out and never gets mentioned whatsoever in here is that this guy also used to sexually violate the corpses, right? And what I like about that is somebody clearly said, and it had to be, he wrote and directed both of these. At some point, he said, yeah, that's just really not a necessary element for the story I'm trying to tell here. It's just kind of trying to be edgy. And in 1994, in the context of its time, I get it. But I appreciate that element was just left out. I didn't think it took anything away. I also appreciate that they didn't do anything whatsoever even remotely approaching to the Joyce character from the original. The whole element involving that character and the way both Jens and Martin treat her, but especially Jens, was really disgusting. And so I'm glad that those weren't here. But I actually thought the story was more interesting from a mystery standpoint because when we first meet the doctor And she starts talking about how, like, oh, well, maybe he has kids. Maybe his kids feel the same way your kid, your dad, you do. And I was like, I immediately was like, all right, it's her, right? Like, she's helping this dude out. But then they legitimately got me flip-flopped over to thinking it was the detective because he was the detective, right? Like, there's that parallel. He was the detective, and she's the detective. And I'm like, of course it's her. And then what I love about it is there's one just more subtle clue in here. And I was like, yeah, of course they did. Because Martin was a law student, and Vermeer was the detective. But Martin's daughter, Emma, is not also a law student. She's a medical student. And I did kind of like the, like, is it a male child? Is it a female child? That whole thing. But I was like, of course, the parallel is not between Vermeer and his daughter both being detectives. It's between both Martin and Vermeer's children becoming doctors, right? On flip sides of things. I don't know if that's actually what was going on there, but I kind of felt that connection there, and it came back around. I thought this was just I ran with this story more. I thought it was more compelling and just more well structured. I got drawn into it more.
Yeah. No, like I said, I can't even debate you. I enjoyed the first story more.
Yeah, it is.
There's nothing really inherently wrong with either
right.
of them.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
more just. Yeah, they're both really well done. Like it's well made ice cream. It's just a matter of, do you like this flavor, right? Like, which flavor do you prefer at this point? And
I did. I dug into reviews a lot because I was just curious. I had time. I watched it. And most people who say they love it are people who loved the original 30 years ago. And I just think that's kind of like nice. And that's why I'm like, I can't even hate on it because people are like, I fondly remember this movie about dead sex workers. It brings such warm memories.
Dead sex workers and necrophilia.
Yes, exactly. They're like, oh, yes, that was my favorite childhood film.
He collected a semen sample and dumped it on a corpse's ass in that first movie.
Yep.
And, like, again, I get it. It was 1994. It was a different time. Things are what they are, and I'm not judging. I'm especially not judging it because he had the very good sense to say, 2024, we probably shouldn't do that. And I very much appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's probably better. One thing, because I'm just going to keep comparing it to the original.
Please do.
Because, that's what I'm doing. But the first one had such a good atmospheric creepiness to it. And this one's less atmospheric. It does rely on the story as opposed to just putting you in that setting. And so I think because I knew, this is a sequel that's drawing on direct parallels from the other movie, I expected more of that. And again, it's just my expectations didn't jive with what I was expecting or like what I actually got. So that was part of it too, is I thought we were going to get a lot more of, creepy dead person place. And instead it's like her with her friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And other places that aren't creepy.
This definitely plays more kind of straight splattery crime thriller. I did have that experience with the first one where I honestly didn't know what kind of movie it was going to be, and they very effectively teased the potential for some supernatural elements, whether it be corpses coming back to life or ghosts or spirits in the morgue or any of these things. There definitely was a lot more of that feeling and atmosphere in the original than there is in this one. You're absolutely right.
Yep. Yeah.
But
so just comparing both of them, because I can't say like anything's really wrong with this one. It's not so much for me.
Both, like I said, well-made movies, beautifully photographed. There is one sequence in this movie that I don't know. Maybe you recognized it. Maybe you saw something in it. I did. Because I thought the audacity of it was just so severe. but the fact that it worked completely justified the whole thing. And it's toward the end of the film, after we've finally had the reveal that the psychiatrist at the mental hospital where Vermeer is being kept is actually his child and is the one doing all the killing. There's a sequence where she and Emma are on opposite sides of a wall. And so Emma is walking away, like when the wall is splitting the screen down the middle, Emma is walking away from us towards the back side of the barrier to come around. And the doctor, whose name unfortunately I don't recall, is coming towards the screen to come right, because it's not like a connected wall, right? It's a freestanding kind of divider. And it's just literally that cat and mouse, oop, we come around the corner just right at the same time as each other. And then they do it again. Like, they do it twice in one set. It's just like the audacity to be like, no, we are going to do the most basic of cat and mouse gags, and we're going to do it twice. And it I don't know, it worked for me. I thought it was really well played. It was, it wasn't scary tense, but I was like, this is good crime thriller stuff. And it's really, when you break it down, it's just this most very basic cartoony thing. And I just thought it was really well handled. I loved it.
This did one of my favorite horror movie tropes around that same time, and that's bad guy drags sharp thing across a wall.
Oh, yes. It also...
I don't even remember what she's holding. It's not a blade, but something along those lines.
It's a box cutter.
Box cutter, that's what it was.
Yeah,
I was like, I have a ruler in my head, but I know that's wrong.
Yeah, just like a safety knife. I'm glad you mentioned that, because this movie does have one of my favorite slasher crime thriller murder moments in a long time. That when Jens gets his throat slashed, he's walking just by himself in the nighttime, and something is gonna happen, and you're not sure where it's gonna come from or what it's gonna be, but it's so obvious that something's gonna happen, and they give you the cue with that quick clicking sound from the safety box cutter knife, with the retractable blade coming up, and then just as you have time to register, you've heard the sound, comes in from the side, just slashes his fucking neck, and just keeps on walking nonchalant like it was nothing. I loved that sequence. I thought it was so rad.
I have nothing else to add.
Oh, okay. So anyway,
I ran out of things. I'm sorry. I was feeling very tepid about it.
That's all
and
right.
Then it started raining, and my brain.
Oh, I know. It's I have my window open in the room here, and it's been so hot, and it was just shy of 90 degrees and humid as fuck in Fargo, North Dakota today. For those of you listening, thankfully for the rest of the week,
90 degrees today.
Just shy of. I think the high, at least here in West Fargo, was 88.
This is why I don't leave my house.
Yeah, but for the rest of the week, it's going to be in the 60s and 70s, and it's going to be wonderful again. Yeah. Oh, what I just love the rain. I love the sound of it. I love the smell of it. I love big, crazy boom. I like thunder that claps so hard it rattles your fucking windows and scares the dog. Oh,
I like thunder that claps so hard it claps those ass cheeks. Am I right?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
What?
Oh, guys. So, hey, here's the thing we can tell people. They did just drop the Shudder release schedule for June, so we have updated the upcoming episodes section at wewatchshudder.com. Oh, there's some big thunder. Nice.
I even heard it.
Maybe we'll get a little of it on the tape. We'll see. But
now I hear it. I heard
know.
It on our call, but I'm finally hearing it outside.
A little bit of a delay. Nice. That's awesome.
That's crazy. I never think we're that far away, but that was cool.
But so we got some cool stuff coming up. We had a couple of open weeks that we're going to fill with some listener requests. If you ever have anything you'd like to hear us talk about when we have an open week, hit us up, right? We're on Instagram and Facebook and still on X if you're doing that thing. We got email, all the good stuff. The guy at the end will tell you all about it. Also, still taking requests for your favorite Halloween horror movies. Michelle, we got to start putting a list together of like official picks and start getting these things recorded if we're going to be ready for October.
I already watched all 61 movies on the list. I'm kidding. But I have seen most of them. So.
I was going to say, I wasn't even aware that there were already 61 movies on the list.
Yep. I put together the list, including who recommended what, which ones I really wanted to do, some notes about why it makes it a Halloween movie, because, like I said, the Mean Girls movies definitely count. So those are on there. Yeah, they have Halloween scenes.
Well, first of all, Michelle, I'm pretty sure I specified Halloween horror.
And I did not agree to those terms.
Well, we may have to have a little bit of a chat about this situation.
There's 61 movies on there for us to choose from. I'm guessing you're probably going to veto How High from 2001. Too,
I'm absolutely going to veto How High. I'm probably also going to veto Mean Girls.
I know,
but we'll talk about it.
Oh
my God!
And I love Mean Girls. I love How High.
Michelle, my dog just ripped the most rancid dog ass again.
Oh
my
Riley.
God, Riley, Jesus. Anyway, so yeah, check that out. We're gonna do a Halloween horror movie, or I guess maybe one or two Halloween affiliated non-horror movies.
I didn't actually think I'd win that battle, so that'd be hilarious.
We'll see. We'll have to see what your suggestions are. We'll talk about it.
The song Halloween from the Mean Girls remake. Just
also,
that song.
Also, guys,
Halloween.
I do want to point out, if you don't follow us on Instagram, the virtual streaming option for the Chicago Horror Film Festival has been going on for several days now, about a week now. I have 2 more days that I'm going to be watching things, but if you check out our Facebook or our Instagram, I've already talked about something like 30 or 31 short films that screened at the festival. Most of them are not things that you're going to be able to see right away here now, but all of my posts have either the filmmakers or the films tagged in them. Go check out those posts. Follow those pages and keep an eye on these. Every single one of these is something that I'm talking. Like, I've only mentioned about 70% rather of the stuff I've seen. I've seen 53 short films at this point from the festival list, and I've talked about 30 odd of them. They're all worth keeping an eye on. Go check that stuff out. I would appreciate that. Michelle, pitch something.
I'm going to get my shit together and put out my blog about the Sphere. I have thoughts about it. I'm not a very strong writer. Basically, everything just became bullet points. I've been working on it. I'll keep working on it. You'll get it eventually. Stop bothering me.
Okay, I understand. Yes, I will stop bothering you. I apologize for bothering you. Oh, you're just talking to yourself? Oh.
I'm in my head about it, yeah.
I was trying to...
every day it's on my to-do list.
No, I get it. I was just trying to play along and make you seem like less of a crazy person, you know?
No, I'm definitely a crazy person.
That's fair. Me too.
Why would we ever even try
I mean, why? How would we be 200-plus episodes deep into a podcast that's been running for 2 years if we weren't a little bit crazy?
We're all a little crazy here.
We all go a little mad sometimes. We all float down here, and we all came down to Montreux on the Lake Geneva shoreline. You know, whatever. Everybody was kung fu fighting.
Oh.
I'm losing it, Michelle. My ends are fraying very quickly.
Same. I am so tired. I have to go scorekeep a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament in the morning, so
I thought I don't know why, probably because of how my ends are fraying, but for a moment I thought you were going to say you have to go referee a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament right now, and that
wouldn't even be surprising.
Oh my God!
But
it wouldn't be. What it would be is a goddamn nightmare. Oh my Lord!
Oh yeah, those Yu-Gi-Oh players get real wily around 1 a.m.
It's all they drink too much goddamn Mountain Dew and they don't smoke enough weed.
Oh, well, yeah, some of them definitely. Some of them, that's definitely a concern.
Either that or maybe they forgot to take their Adderall, which is not a judgment of people who take Adderall. Please, just take your meds is what I'm saying. Please, take your meds.
Oh, I did remember to take my meds today. Thank you for
the reminder. Good. I want to just get some T-shirts made that just say "Take your meds" and just sell them to people. So like you just walk around wearing them, and maybe you can be a living reminder to other people to take their meds. I
would wear that shirt, and people would ask me, "Ha ha ha! Did you take your meds?" And I'd have to say, "Fuck no." I'm supposed to take them at 10 a.m. every day because I used to have a work meeting at 10 a.m. So I always knew where I would be, and I knew I would like get into the habit. And yet now it's like 10 p.m. sometimes. I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably take the pills that make me one with reality instead of off doing my own thing. But sometimes doing my own thing is really fun. Fun.
Do they actually make you one with reality, Michelle? Because the ones I have, I think really the only way to fairly describe what they do is they reinforce my tether to reality just enough that I don't go careening off into the void, but the grasp is still tenuous at best.
Mine are bipolar meds, so my reality is very different without these meds. Mine are things are very different when I don't have them.
You're a bipolar type 1 folk, right?
I think so.
Yeah, yes. You got the crazy manic episodes.
Yep.
I shouldn't say crazy. That's wrong terminology.
I self-identify as crazy.
I'm using it in the sense of being like synonymous to like wild or like just chaotic, really amplified, and not in the sense of like crazy as an insult for mental health issues. But because of that parallel, anyway. Yeah. I knew we'd get to the therapy portion of the episode sooner or later if we just tried hard enough, and we
listeners, take your meds.
Take your meds, guys. I don't have
them? Send me pictures of you taking your meds. I seriously would love if this post, when I put out a post saying our episode is out, if it's just people with like handfuls of pills and being like, I'm taking my meds.
We'll start
prescribed pills. Don't just take like all your Xanax.
Right. Yeah, like I'm not. Look, first of all, I'm not passing any judgment. I'm not saying anything about people who choose to use drugs recreationally as long as you're doing things in a sensible and responsible manner, and you are at least aware enough or have friends who are aware enough to help you figure it out if things start to go wrong. What I am saying is what was I saying? I don't know. It was going to be something about how don't show me the recreational drugs you're taking. Just show me the ones that you're taking for your mental health. Something like that.
The recreational ones. Don't show much about the recreational
I don't want to. I don't want to see.
Be like, whoa.
I don't know what I don't want to see. My end. We gotta go. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.
For more horror content, visit WeWatchShudder.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShudder on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShudder.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShudder.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shudder is a production of Rat Factory Media.